Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, and I'm making professional trading simple as we come into about the last 10 seconds of the trading day. We are going to see exactly where we finish. I'm very interested to see if we can close at... There's the bell. And were we able to do it? Let me see if I can get a final close number here. What I'm looking for is to see if the SPX was able to close above 1040, and it looks like it was, just ever so slightly. Very interesting. 1040.23, let's call it 1040. It closed right on. That was one of the levels that I was looking at for the day. We were able to get above it earlier today and then pulled right back to it at the end of the day. So it is still anybody's fight right here, but actually bullish to even see it get above it today at all. Some good trading here towards the beginning of the day, not so much towards the middle to the end of the day. I'm looking over some charts I have on some of my other three screens here, and I see that most everything just went flat this afternoon. Oops, there's another alarm. Hold on, let me turn that alarm off. It's okay. Sorry about that. Coke was approaching the $54 mark again. I wanted to see if it was going to break it, and it wasn't able to during the day. So still pushing up towards those higher levels on Coke. We'll get to that in a little while, but a little bit of trading able to be done early in the day. Other than that, it was really straight sideways. For the most part, it was all straight sideways. Kind of more of a consolidation day today, and you'll see it in the stocks we're about to look at. It was very difficult to trade after about the first couple hours of the day for all practical purposes. The chop is certainly something that's going to get you when you see that happening, especially around the noontime hour, which is very common. You need to be very cautious in your trading. It's very easy to get your hands slapped and money taken away from you in those environments. People that have been with me for a while know I talk about that quite a bit. So let's move on to the indices today. And on the Dow, we can see here that we had this push back up and able to break back up above this little channel line we were looking at. Yesterday we discussed how much lower the Dow was, laggard it was over the other indices. Today up a nice 1.2%, which was able to get it back into this channel. That's good for the bulls. That's exactly what they want to see. Now there's heavy resistance above it here at the 96.54 level, which is where it'll have to push through next. Really, for this thing to start to get interesting for the bulls, it's got to get back up above these levels, and that's what we're going to see on all of the indices as we move forward, is that a break above these channel lines more or less kind of confirms this is more of a bull flag, potentially with a little jab, is what they call a jab down here, in this case on the Dow. Otherwise, just a bull flag on the other two indices. We'll show you that here in just a second. Let's look at the Dow on a daily. And I talked about how this was kind of closing outside of this area was kind of the last line in the sand. They really needed to move up today in order to salvage what could possibly be still a potential bull move in the markets. And you can see they were able to do it today. Coming right back into the 20-day moving average, I would really watch that area particularly close tomorrow. This is a very good place to get short if you're still looking to get short the market. Very defensible to get short right up here at the 20. If it gets much more than a few, 10, 20 points above it, probably would cover at that point. Just go ahead and wait for a better entry, or maybe even flip your decision to a long entry. That is one of the beauties of stock trading, is you can change your mind at any moment's notice and go from being a bear to a bull. Do not have to stay with one or the other. So I would be watching this area tomorrow. See if a retest will hold on the Dow. If we move on to the NASDAQ, we can see on a 60-minute here that we came up and were able to kind of, we're above the 20, but we're still below the 200 on a 60-minute. So a very a decent move. You can see the NASDAQ was only up 0.8% today. So it was not up near as much as the other indices were at the end of the day. And looks like the S&P was up 1.5%. So it led the way. I would assume that was probably because of the banks today, without taking a broader look at the markets. I would think that maybe the banks think there was some news this morning on the banks getting some more money. Go figure. We've talked about that quite a bit. That the government is definitely behind the banks and keeping them in check here. So as you can see, this little line I've got drawn across here, really just more for my for my entertainment purposes, to be honest with you, ended up being pretty strong, or ended up being pretty valid resistance today. We pushed above it, came back, closed below it. We are above this channel line, which is exactly what the bulls want to see. They want to make sure you stay above this channel. You start to break out of this channel for more than 1 or 2 days, and that's a very bearish sign for the markets, especially since it's been holding this since mid-August. So it certainly wants to hold on to this going forward. Watch for a potential retest maybe of this 20 moving average as well, like you see on the Dow. On the weekly, not going to worry about that right yet. Still Monday. Let's look at the SPX on a 60-minute. Up above this support resistance area, up above the 200 period moving average on the 60-minute, and stay in there. Closed at that 1040 area and above that, and that's precisely what it needed to do if it was going to continue to keep this bullish sentiment, for lack of a better word, to it. So not a bad move today by the bulls. Gonna have to hold it tomorrow. Still gonna need some confirmation tomorrow in order for the bulls to be confirmed in their move to the upside. As you can see, this trend line coming up through here is acting as now resistance. We have another one coming across here acting as resistance. We have the previous 1050 area as resistance. We have the 20-day moving average as resistance. So it looks like we've got a lot of work to do from a bull side. Really needs to get, as I talked about yesterday, up above this 1060 area. I would really like to see it get up there if the bulls are going to have a shot. That would put all of this junk below it and would create a lot more work for the bears, obviously, than it would for the bulls. The bulls would kind of have a much better opportunity to get themselves closer to the 1080 and above point if they can get up and above all of this junk, which for me would be above 1060 ultimately. On the weekly, not going to worry about it. But, oh, you know what? I will show you this. I mentioned this weekend, too, that even the new candle, seeing as how it's going to start a new candle for the week, has now started outside of this rising wedge. Now, the interesting part of this ensues. Is this just a pullback? Can we get up and above this area again? Now this trend line should act as resistance. This other trend line coming down should act as resistance. The bulls could have some extra work to do there on a weekly time scale. Be interesting to see if they can take this week, and they really need to try to get it up and above this area if they're going to make a move. They need to try to do it this week. Otherwise, I think the advantage has to go to the bears if they can't do it this week. VIX had a huge move down today, 6.3%. For all of you that watch options, you could see it reflected in the options prices too. As I was watching options prices, you could see them losing premium pretty quickly today on moves to the upside. And here it was testing that 20-week moving average, which I discussed yesterday. I did not expect it necessarily to get back all in one day, but here you have it anyway. Still remember, this is a weekly candle, so how it closes on Monday really makes absolutely no difference. How it closes on Friday is what we're more interested in. Apple, from